Perfect. Yeah, we are live. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another workshop from the Grand Factory by Taiko. Super excited, like always, to kick this off with Jorin, Terence, and Cecilia. We have two presentations today, so more coming up for you. But at the same time, we are super close to the finish line. We have 25 days left for you to submit your project. And yeah, like I always say, if you always had an idea to build upon, this might be the right set of opportunity for you. The ecosystem is booming with ideas, innovation, and you might as well tap in at the right time. But without taking a lot of time, we've spoken a lot on the tracks that we have on the price pool, etc. But I will give it to Jorin to talk more about it and the content that we have today.
Great. Thank you so much, Mashika. And thank you again to the DoraHacks team for supporting us in doing this initiative. Yeah, like Mashika said, we're coming down to it now. This is going to be our last week of workshops and talks. And then we're going to get into really the crunch mode of people submitting their grants, getting some feedback for those grants, and polishing them up so that they're ready to go at the end of the hackathon. And there's going to be a workshop specifically for that, so keep an eye out for that. We're setting up all the portal that you'll need to use to submit your grants, which is going to be separate from the DoraHacks platform. So keep that in mind. You're submitting your build, your actual technical documentation on the DoraHacks platform, and then you'll be submitting a grant to a portal that we're setting up for you guys. Again, we'll go through all of the specifics of that. Yeah, I think we're going to jump right into the talks today. We have big brains and big bags with us today. First off, we have Terence. He is a co-founder at Taiko, CFO, and sometimes my personal legal officer. Terence is going to give us a behind-the-scenes look at Taiko and how we've grown to the largest, one of the largest communities in the blockchain space. So without further delay, Terence, take it away.
Hello. Well, thanks a lot. Can you guys hear me?
Yep, sounds good.
All right, sounds great. Okay. Well, thanks a lot for having me today. I'm glad to come to talk to all of you. I was told to tell a story to all of you, smart people who joined the hackathon and building very hard about Taiko's journey. So a lot of our smart Taiko people has been giving a lot of tech talks. I guess I want to change the subject and then talk some more soft topics with you all today. So before I start with the story of Taiko, actually, just a quick recap. We do have the largest Discord server in the crypto space. So we have over 1 million Discord members and close to 1 million Twitter followers. We have mainnet since late May, early June, and we actually have now in a few months, just a few months, 4 to 5 months, we have over 1.6 million unique wallets, and on a daily basis, we have over 150K DAU users, communities, participating, using our network, and to the latest, we are processing 3 million transactions on mainnet every day. So far in the short 4 to 5 months, we have processed over 220 million transactions on our mainnet network. All that happened in less than 2.5 years, from the idea stage all the way to today. So a lot of you would be curious to see how did that happen. I'm sure that, a lot of you are builders and co-founders, and then you all have great ideas, smart people building the best tech in the market. I have not a very good news to share with you. It's actually in a very well-known business school case study that the best tech rarely succeed. I hope that by today's sharing with you about Taiko's story, it gives you some references and ideas and inspirations on what you can do. I hope all of you will have a very successful product, technology, community, just like Taiko, and build on Taiko and grow with us. So here we go. So once upon a time, there are three little piglets, the three co-founders, myself, Daniel, and Brett. We had a great idea to say, oh, well, we think we have a great tech that we can build to scale Ethereum. There are a lot of other people, who have similar ideas, and they have been, building it starting much earlier than us. But anyway, regardless, the three of us, thinks that we have different ideas, and we think we can build something more interesting, and people will love it. So that's, as I mentioned just a little bit earlier, that's 2.5 years ago. We have that moment, and then we said, okay, let's build it. At the moment, there's only the three of us. Actually, we did not take any engineers from the previous project. There's just the three of us, and you guys would wonder, what's the first thing we do? Actually, the first thing what we need to do, of course, is to find the funding for the project, because there's only very little things that three of us can do, right? We need a team, and we need resources, and then everything. So the first thing we have to answer in looking for VCs are actually, to figure out, the things that what we're trying to build. Is it a to B model, or is it to C, or is it to VC? To B is to businesses. Are we selling to businesses? Are we selling to consumers, or are we selling our ideas to VC? Uh, a very interesting fact, actually, when you think about finding your VCs, it's never just about the money. Actually, money is just one of the many, many, many more important things that different VCs can bring to you. The reason why we need to ask whether what we're trying to build is to business, to consumer, or to VC is because depending on what you're trying to build, actually, you should be looking for different types of VC. Other than it's more important what these VC can bring to the table on top of the money that they bring on the table. If you find the wrong VCs, actually they might not be able to help you. If you find the right VCs, they actually can help you to build a lot faster and more efficiently. In our case, we are an infrastructure that scales Ethereum. Of course, we want to grow the largest community in the world. So as we talk to hundreds of VCs, we are actually very, very selective. We choose the VCs that actually can empower us with a lot more than money, with their portfolio company, with their influences, with their brand names, that the and their community. VC actually has a lot of community, and that's what we pick. And we say no. You will be surprised that we say no to a lot of checks. Because we think that the type of VCs might not be exactly what we need. For example, if we pick a VC that actually focus on investing into to business, to be type of business model, they would only be able to offer us the money, but not everything else that I said. And also remember, VC's money is liability on your balance sheet. So as we all want to make the VCs whole at the end of the day, because of the trust and the support and the energy and everything that they put in us, the team. So only raise what you absolutely need, and find the right VCs, and always think about what other value than money that the VCs can bring to you, because that's the first formula of success. Okay, now we have the money. What do we do next? That's still 2.5 years ago. We said, why don't we need a name, right? We need a name for the project. Why don't we call it Taiko? Why do you need a brand when you just have a few engineers, and you have the first you know uh, bag of money, and you start to build a team? Actually, brand is a lot more important than a lot of us would think. Taiko one of the big reason why Taiko has one of the largest community today is actually because of our brand. How do we build a brand? Uh, let's just pick a name called Taiko, right? A lot of you might not have known that actually this is the very first logo of Taiko that doesn't look anything similar to what you are seeing at today, correct? That's just something that the three co-founders come together, take a blank piece of paper, and then draw and say, okay, this is Taiko. So we went out and then we built our first Twitter account and we built our first Discord. Um, and then, what do you talk to the community? When you are only a few engineers and you raise a first round of funding and you're starting to write codes, and then, there's not much, right? That you can actually, that why would people even come to your server? That on the first few thousand Discord members and Twitter followers that we start to build, other than we talk about our tech, talk about what we're trying to build, talk about our dream, talk about our mission. Actually, we went off to start something to engage the community. We started a brand, a logo, brand upgrade enhancement, initiative with the community. I remember back then, I think that Discord server only have maybe 3,000 users. So the community are surprisingly active. We put in a very small award, but then actually more importantly, all of them wants to have a say in what Taiko brand looks like. And this is what actually we have a dozen submissions, and then the team actually come together. We do a voting. We actually even let the community to vote about among all the submissions, and then we have a few final call, and then we come up with this logo, the middle one, which is actually also, that logo has been with us for about a year of our time, and it has been gaining a lot of traction. Of course, we then, as we grow bigger, and then we have hire our designer, and then we do some internal branding exercise, and then we further evolve the brand to where they are at today. Um, so what I want to share with you is that we choose to engage the community on every single aspect of Taiko, starting from everything as small as a logo design. When we are still small, when we are just starting to write a few lines of code, we already started that journey of you know building with community for community. As a matter of fact, we are very well known as the pink company in the crypto space now. As you can see, we are all pink. The pink color actually also come from the logo, which also come from the community, who actually designed our first logo, and then we decided, that we use the color of the community choice. Um, so then as we grow, as our journey continue to progress, we have more and more things. We build more and more things, and then we want the community to help us with more and more, you know, uh, uh, testing, contribution, growing the community, spreading the word, supporting us in the conferences, participate in our test net, etc. So a lot of you, if you have been, have been with Taiko community, would be very familiar with all this, right? We have Taiko office hours, we have tea with Taiko, we have community calls, we have roller coaster update. Uh, these are all regular things that we do to keep the community updated. We are fully transparent with the community, and we get them involved. Um, Fun fact, we have 16 community moderators and advocates now, but in reality, we actually have a lot more. because our whole community, internal community success team, actually all started off as our community member or community mod or advocates, and they later on grew up into, we invite them into Taiko team as our full-time team, but they in all the way, including our chief community officer, has been with us in the community as a mod, even since the beginning of the Taiko journey. So keeping the community involved, engaged, updated is super, super, super important. The interactive piece is priceless for any project to be successful. So what else is more important now that you have ways to keep the community, updated and and involved, and not just telling them, sharing with them what we are building, but also letting them be part of the mods team, part of the advocates team, and get participate in many things. What next, right? This is a chart that I'm not sure how many of you know what it is. It's actually a very famous chart of networking effect. You know, networking effect actually is super important for any successful crypto project. Actually, it's also super important for any Web2 project or products that we use every day. What networking effect sets is, you need a big community, but you also need a huge number of uh, apps, or merchants or shops, because if you have a million community like Taiko, you can ask them to do Galaxy tasks every day for 2.5 years. They will leave, and you can't ask them to just keep bridging the token and sending the token back and forth to each other. They will find it not interesting and bored and leave, right? So it's super important for any successful project, other than focusing on building your tech, is to build your ecosystem, is to kickstart, what we call is to get through the cold start phase of a networking effect. And network code the biggest challenge of a cold start for networking effect is always what we call a chicken and egg questions. Do you have the community first, or do you have the app first? The more the apps, the more user will want to come. The more users, the more the app will want to deploy onto your network. But which one first? So that's the hardest things to crack, but then that's the number one thing that you all as a builder need to figure out. The other things, the other benefit of constantly to interact with other the apps, working with the apps, on partnership, is actually what we call a magnetic effect. It's like, because every time you engage with a partner on an AMA or launching a testnet campaign, inviting your community to participate, actually you are effectively marrying the community of yourself and your partners or your DApps. If you do it well, it's absolutely a win-win situation. You are growing, you are not taking users from each other, you are actually marrying the two communities and making them working seamlessly and growing both of your community. If you do it wrong, then it becomes vampire attack, and no one will want to do it with you anymore. And then you will slow down your development. So we pay a lot of attention to find the right partners, to partner with, to run a campaign with, to have AMA with, and to run a gaming night with, for example, and so that our community, both of our community, both our community and our partners' community, find it really, really interesting to engage and to blend, and both us and our partners who does it with us find it, a win-win, right? It's like their community size also grew, and their activity level also grew in their community, so it becomes a win-win. This is super important for Taiko's growth. It's also important because at every stage of our development, starting from the first test net all the way to our mainnet, and by the way, we have 7 or 8 test nets, and then go mainnet. And even after mainnet, we still have a lot of big upgrades on our mainnet roadmap, on our technology roadmap, that Daniel and other of our team member has shared with all of you. That every time, every test net or every upgrade, we need to battle test it before and after we launch. Even at mainnet, we want to battle test the throughput, the efficiency, everything on the network. So engaging the community, engaging partners who deploy on our on our network to run campaigns is super useful and helpful and effective in battle testing our system, and also getting users, getting our community a lot more, many very involved. And when we come close to the mainnet launch, what is also important is actually, of course, rewarding the community, because the community really put a lot of time and sweat into helping us to grow in the whole time, right? 2.5 years, since the very beginning, since the first design of our brand, since the first test net all the way. They have put in a lot of time. So rewarding the community has always been the very difficult task for any project. Many projects actually failed at the airdrop. So when you mainnet, remember, you have to reward all your community. But how to do a successful airdrop is another day's discussion. I don't know if we will have a session dedicated for that, but today we probably won't have time to talk about it. But rewarding the community is never, remember, is never a one-off thing. Actually, a lot of people would think, mainnet, I have an airdrop and then I go mainnet and that's it. We see it very differently, because at Taiko, we believe that our community will continue to grow with Taiko, and mainnet is just the day first, the early stage of our whole, journey. And therefore very different from other project. Actually, we have a Trailblazer campaign that was launched right after, the day after our mainnet airdrop, our mainnet launch. And we are running seasons 2 now. Season 1 just ended and season 2 just started. And we will continue to run Trailblazers for years to come. As I shared with all of you, we need to battle test, every single version of our mainnet, every single version of our technology upgrade, and we want to engage our community, and we want everyone to feel rewarded in the journey. We have, rewarding the community is never just about the mainnet airdrop. Genesis airdrop is about how do you continue to incentivize your community to grow with you. Another thing that's also very important is for any builders or co-founders to think about is actually other than the great, smart, amazing tech that you are building, what are you trying to tackle as the largest, the biggest challenge of the whole ecosystem. um, you know um, and it's not just, it's never about, we believe, we at Taiko believes that our success is never just about our own success. Is if Ethereum ecosystem is not successful, its future is not guaranteed, then our success will be very short-lived. So as a builder, I encourage all of you, to think about what are the big challenges that the whole ecosystem is facing. That how what you are building or you're trying to build can participate and help to tackle those problems. at Taiko, or even our co-founders' previous project, we have always have that in mind. Everything that we do, we always trying to help Ethereum to grow into to be able to handle more users, more transactions, and to handle more use cases. And we make sure when we build our tech, we make difficult decisions in times like choosing to be based. It's harder to build. We have less revenues as a project, but it does address the biggest challenge of the Ethereum ecosystem's future, and we think that's important. We think if one day Taiko becomes successful, we have to be able to contribute to the Ethereum as we do that. And and lastly, I think user experience should also be always be number one priority on your mind. Um, because at the end of the day, it's all about user experience. The biggest I personally think, and we all personally think that the only thing that's stopping Web3 from growing beyond the size of Web2 is actually user experience. How do you make sure that the our product is easy to use? The 6 years old and the 80 years old can all easily use it. How do you make sure that it can take on the kind of transactions that the Web2 does every day? How do you make sure that the cost of transactions, that people can play fully on-chain game all day long, and it will cost them less than the cost of a cup of Starbucks, so they will never need to think about it, and just use it like they using internet today. um, are the things that we think about every day, and every version of our upgrade. We try to make it a little bit better, a little bit closer to that dream. So in summary, rewarding the community, and rewarding the community continuously, so that they will grow with your project, and will continue to help you to better test every single version and upgrade they will bring out. Try to think about the big challenges that the whole industry faces, and what your tech can help to contribute and tackle, and think about what better user experiences you can bring, are super important. Um, Lastly, to wrap it up, in at Taiko, we believe that we are built for community, with the community. Our is actually our secret sauce, of building the largest community in the crypto space, is actually to involve and grow the community, to respect the community and grow with them, and get them involved in the smallest little thing of our decisions, and all the way to every step of our growth. And all of you, I hope you can think about how you want Taiko to be, and let us know, and then get involved and help us to become the Taiko that you want. I think that wraps up our my sharing today. Thank you very much. Yurin, back to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Terence. That was amazing. It's great to hear the story, like firsthand from a person that was a co-founder that built this great community from zero. I do have a couple questions from the audience and a couple questions of my own. I'll start off with one of mine. What was your like guiding light when the three of you guys came together? What was your vision for what you could build, and like how did you sustain that vision? Because as you said, it's very hard. It's like a lot of sleepless nights, etc. Like what fueled that fire to get past 0 to 1?
Right. It's a great question, right? I think this is not the first project that the three co-founders built, as many of the community member actually knows. What cut through the two projects, two attempts we call it, from the previous project to Taiko, is actually always been how to make Ethereum, better than the Web 2 infrastructure. We all, as much as we all believes in, in crypto, actually crypto's still at a very infant stage of the life cycle. If I don't know how many of you actually knows, actually, every single Web 2 applications that we use today, Facebook, Google, Amazon, TikTok, you name it, the first 10 years actually are always, struggling. You know, People only are aware of them, at about 10 years. And you think of it, Ethereum were created in 2013. Today is 2024. It's just 10 years. So this is actually a very baby stage, of where Ethereum. But at 10 years, is usually when big things happen. 10 years is what we call in the inflection point in any technology, evolution. And it happened in Web 1, Web 2, Web 3, and now we are at that inflection point. So what is the guiding light for the free co-founder? Has always been, we believe that Ethereum would be that future. And then what we have been doing, first attempt, second attempt has always been, trying to, as I said earlier in the presentation, what we are building can help, the bigger, ecosystem to leapfrog to the next phase. What I call is the broadband moment of blockchain, and we believe that we are exactly doing that.
Amazing. Thank you for that. There's a thread there that I want to come back to, but I want to ask the question from the audience first. So we know what your guiding light was, but then what advice would you give projects to practically go from zero to your first hundred or first 1,000 users?
Mm.
Yeah, you had the benefit of having some communities maybe come over from your previous projects, but some of these folks are going to be starting straight from cold zero. What
Correct.
advice would you give them?
So first of all, I also recall one of the slides that I share in a very early stage is like, we have 16, mods and, language mods and advocates today. And actually many of our internal community team, a dozen of them actually was originally mods and language mods and community, advocates. So that's our 100 real users. When you started your Discord server and then you have your first community calls and then you engage with them, well, you created your first, Twitter account. Think of interaction, because a lot of people, create Discord and create a lot of project, create Discord, create Twitter account just to say what they want to say. They are not there to listen
Mm,
to what their community wants or thinks or desires. Um, the first, if you listened and if you engage and if it's interactive and if you actually respond and make their community thinks that you care about what they want and what they think and what they desire, they would reward you with two times, three times of what you expect out of them. We are still doing it after we have a whole million, Discord, community today. Every time, even on the last trial, the season one trailblazer at the end, how we decide on the allocation, on the how we decide on the Sybil, prevention. We actually listen to our community. We don't just close the door, a dozen of us, few of us just close the door and then decide. And you are part of that process as well, right? There's no difference between the first 100 of the first 1,000 real users to the a million users. is to make sure that you actually engage and you actually listen to what they have to say, and you do the best that you can considering all facts, to give them, to make them, give them, to get them involved and make them feel that you're doing it for the better good of everyone.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's consistency. It's as you said in your last slide, community, built by the community, with the community. I think that makes a lot of sense, and
Mm,
listening is a key piece of that. That makes a lot of
mm.
sense as well. Okay, another question I have is, might be a trickier one, is what mistakes have you made along the way? Maybe one mistake, and so that people can learn, and to maybe avoid that mistake.
Oh, we made too many mistakes, and we are still making mistakes every day. But I think it's not important what mistakes that we make. I think it's more important after you make the mistake. How do you come back from it? How do you come out of it? I think that's actually make the difference between a successful and a failing team. We always say, both personal experiences on multiple entrepreneurship as well as, business school training, fail fast, fail soon, and come back from it. You
Mm,
know, we believe in what we call a spaghetti theory. A spaghetti theory means, the best spaghetti. If you throw a spaghetti onto the wall, if it fall off, it's too hard. If it sticks, then and breaks, it's too soft. If it's whole and stay there, then it's the best spaghetti, right? So just don't think about what mistake you want to avoid. Of course, we'll do everything we can possibly to avoid mistake, but making mistake is part of building a successful project and building a biggest community. It's more important how you fail fast, fail soon, and come out of it, and continue to move on. That's more important.
okay, so what I'm hearing is resilience, like being able to
Mm.
roll with those punches and pick yourself up, even though you've made mistakes.
Yeah,
That's
deep breath, think about, what we need to do now, and then, and if like in take Taiko as example, right? Because we involve the community since, the first 100 users, and or the first 1,000 users, and involve them in building up, creating our branding from day one, choosing the color that we should use. And they actually are a lot more supportive than you think. They won't leave you just because you make one small mistakes, but make sure that you involve them, in the recovery of your mistake as well. And then that actually will help you to grow the biggest community in space.
that makes sense. Okay, I've got one more question. I think it dovetails really well with the next session that we have coming up, and it picks up on a thread that you mentioned in your first answer, and that's this concept of like the broadband moment. So
Mm.
we've had a good like backstory of the history of Taiko, but what are you seeing in the future, projecting out in the future? Like what's the next big milestone for the larger community, the larger Web3 space? How does Taiko play a role? Where do you see us maybe 5, 10 years down the line? Anything that's like, yeah, more forward looking.
Well, I actually want to leave that to Cecilia, the next session, to talk about a lot into the details about that. But then I think what I can say here is our mainnet is just, what I would call, 1.0, right? I think, another unique thing about Taiko is, after our mainnet, we still have multiple upgrades in the pipeline. And every single upgrade is about improving the user experiences, resonating to my second last slides, right? We are going to launch, ZK on mainnet, very, very soon, and then that will increase the security, of the whole network, you know, above and beyond where we are already at, with base rollup. Our pre-confirmation, has been on the test net already, and that will make the user experience beyond the broadband moment, because it will be confirmation will be sub 1 seconds, and the cost, broad Taiko, transaction cost on Taiko per transaction is already low. It's like zero point 0.0 some cents. Uh, it's like it's already low. But after pre-confirmation, it will be even lower, right? Like I said, even if you play fully on-chain games, every interaction is on-chain, fully on-chain social media, web-free apps, you wouldn't need to worry about paying of all the expensive gas fee at the end of the day, right? Yeah, so that's what I think is important. Of course, our big brain, Brad has Gwyneth base roll up also, in the pipeline that will further address a lot of the bigger industry-wide issues of TVL fragmentations and other pieces, right? Actually, TVL fragmentation is not just a infrastructure issue. It's actually a user experience issue. If you need to keep bridging, back and forth and back and forth in order to use the greatest app, in different chains, that's not just cost. That's also time, and that's one of the reason why Web3 users are not even close to Web2 users, right? And with that, with by every single upgrade, if we address every single angle of the user experiences, we believe that the super broadband moment of crypto and blockchain will be here, and that's not very far away. We're talking about all this. We're talking about like in within a year time, we'll make it all happen.
That's very exciting and sets the
Mm.
stage very well for our next speaker. So I want to say thank you very much, Terence, for taking us on this journey and giving us your great insights. Is there any last words you'd like to give the audience before we move on?
I think that's it. I think I sum up everything that I want to share with you. I think most of you are builders and co and founders, and all of you after the hackathon, you'll be hopefully you will win some awards, and but I hope you will all share our vision, and you will all build with Taiko on Taiko, and come and share our big amazing great community. I hope our not just our tech and our resources, but also our community will help all of you to be successful. If there's any challenges or difficulty at all, feel free to reach out to any one of us, especially Yorin, our best dev rel in the whole industry, in my opinion. Keep him awake. He can't go to sleep anyway. He has a young baby, so you might as well give him something more to do, and have fun. Have fun hacking.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Terence, and thanks for the kind words. Yeah, I think we're going to move on to our next session now, and I'm going to invite Cecilia on stage. Welcome, Cecilia. She's one of the big brained engineers. Take care, Terence. She's one of the big brain engineers working at Taiko Labs on our major research and development arm called Gwyneth. She'll go much deeper into the technology and what it all means. But essentially, we're going to be looking. Hopefully, you've had a chance to understand what a based chain is, what it means that Taiko is a based chain. But looking to the future, what does it look for like? As based block building in the future. And so, yeah, I'm going to just pass it over to Cecilia to take it over.
Okay, sure. First of all, thank you guys so much, and I'm really thankful for what Terrence said about like the good words about Taiko and the tech that we built, and like I really resonate with the value that we're all building for the Ethereum and really building for the user, specifically with the user experience. I think all our effort in terms of pre-confirmation and also like the effort of solving like cross-chain composability to solve fragmented liquidity is specifically for the user, because like we really want user to transact seamlessly in a high speed as if their liquidity are all coming together within one chain. And this is literally what I'm gonna present today, because like under the hood, actually, all of the tech are actually together. It's like the heads and tail of the same coin. And so like synchronous composability and base block building comes hand in hand with each other. This is gonna be, which is also gonna be like my slides today, specifically about like how do we bridge from base, the understanding of base pre-confirmation into how do we build blocks together within like chains, different chains. So I guess Jordan, can you see my screen? I'm not sure because I'm like in a window presenting right now. Jordan, I just want to make sure. Hello. Okay. I guess if no one says a thing, I would just like go ahead and present. So this is currently the PBS pipeline of Ethereum today. We have a L1 builder submitting a block through the MEV pipeline, and the L1 builder will receive revenue through MEV and tip. And then we have a L1 validator that is affirming the builder's block through the pipeline, and then this block actually settled in onto L1. That is our PBS today. Where with pre-confirmation, however, we will. I don't have a specific pre-confirmation slide, but so we can imagine there is a validator here who is like the selected validator in the proof of stake ecosystem, a proof of stake mechanism of Ethereum that has the ability to propose a block from a builder that wins the bid in the auction within the PBS. So this validator who has the capacity to land a block on L1 is able to provide pre-confirmation to any builder who wants to propose block in the next subsequent imaginary block space that you can kind of view it over here. So that's with pre-confirmation. However, we do want to extend the capacity of that because given the fact that Taiko is a type 1 blockchain, building a Taiko block or Gwyneth block, the research branch that we're going to build, is exactly the same as building a L1 block. So this would be a paradigm of how we build L2 block within the existing L1 PBS pipeline, right? So we have a L1 database, a L1 builder, who's also a base L2 builder, which in Drake this description, in the base rollup, a L2 builder, a L2 proposer is also a L1 validator, which means a L2 builder is exactly a L1 builder as well. Like we want to build the same thing within the same process, right? So intrinsically, this builder will have access to L2 mempool and also the L2 state, so that he can receive the L2 MEV and tip. So because like the L2 block is essentially homogeneous as the L1 block, so the rolled up operation is literally a transaction inserted into the L1 block that includes all of the L2 blocks that made up the L2 that are made up with the L2 transaction list, right? So as long as this builder has the sequencing right of the next slot of this L2 chain, he can literally sequence also for the L2 blocks with L2 transaction list. So we build the same thing within the same process. And however, one thing to know is that like the L2 sequencing protocol is entirely open. Currently the major design, the most prevalent design, is to have a staked permissionless builder or validator look ahead that implements pre-confirmation, right? That are able to propose block for L1 who can issue pre-confirmation to potential L2 block builder that pre-confirms the fact that we're able to sequence this pink block as well within the L1 block that are going to be proposed. So the major design is a look ahead with leveraging AVS. However, we can also have other open protocol design. For example, you can have like a L2 that is like literally permissionless, like anyone who can propose for the L2 block as long as it has the correct L2 RPC and knows where to propose the block within the L1 for the L2 smart contract. So this is literally how I think like very similar to how Taiko proposes this block today, where we are, somewhat like sequencing our transaction. We do implement decentralized block builder, and we do insert these transaction lists into L1 block. And after we integrate pre-confirmation, this is exactly going to be how we are going to work in the future, in the near future, in fact. So this is that. And if we extend this paradigm to cross-chain block building, which means imagine there's like different instances of Taiko. There's like a pink L2 chain and a blue L2 chain. This exact same builder can literally sequence for different L2s as long as it has the sequencing right of the L2 protocol, of the targeting L2 protocol, right? So like within the same L1 block that this builder built, he can also include the proposal transaction for the pink L2 and the blue L2. So this implies that we can potentially do more in this huge, tremendous block building process. We can potentially have all these transactions synchronously composed with each other, meaning some transaction we can submit like cross-chain bundle. Let's say like these two transactions has to go together back to back. Like as soon as this transaction happens in the pink L2, like the other transaction has to happen on the blue L2 immediately. This is the scenario where the builder performs cross-chain DAX arbitrage. Like if you have like arbitrage that has to go together, this is almost the only way to like to ensure that you're able to insert the two things together, unless you span the other L2 network, right? So yeah, so this is what it can potentially give us. And regarding how are we going to implement this specifically, this is what we're building in Gwyneth. Yeah, so let's go over some example of how we actually perform cross-chain transaction. So in this case, we're bridging WETH from L1 to L2, and then we're swapping the WETH within L2 and then bridge it back to L1. Let's say like this three transaction is being submitted as a bundle, which implies that if one of it fails, everything has to revert, and the user expect everything to go together, right? What is gonna, like, for now, this is not possible because, like how all of the L2 proposes their block individually, you have no guarantee of how like one transaction is exactly in between some other transaction. So this is where this base block building paradigm comes in to ensure that it works, right? So this can only be achieved when the builder has the exclusive sequencing right of both L1 and L2, and all these transactions are literally being built on the same machine, right? So after the whole thing is done, this big L1 block will include the bundled transaction that has like some transaction on L1, some transaction on L2, and the final transaction that goes back to L1, right? And the order has to be like exclusively in this specific manner. Otherwise, everything will fail. This implies that we have to have executional pre-confirmation. So this builder will have a guarantee of the executional result of the entire L1 block, which means this builder will have to like directly sequencing for the L1 block, which means it's gaining like the block building rights from certain L1 validator who has the capacity of issuing execution pre-confirmation. Like, here's your block. You have to build it, and I will propose your block as it is. So this is basically the guarantee that we imply over here, right? And this is another example. If we want to do cross chain, right, from L2 to L1, like we've flipped the scenario around where we initiate a bridge transaction from L2 to L1, and we actually swap the tokens on L1 and bridge it back to L2. Then in this case, what we're implying is so the first transaction will have to be in a L2 block, and then we're switching back to L1 executional contact, and then we have to switch back to L2. And after all of the executional result being proposed, this basically means we actually have like two L2 proposal within the same L1 block, because like it has to phase out like that's not true. So the second transaction can be implemented as a L1 call within the L2 proposal. So we emulate the L1 execution within the L2 process, and then roll back the result back to the L1 towards the end. So we still manage to like ensure that like the state locking process of L2 isn't too complicated, but we kind of still have to emulate the L1 call within the L2. So this brings me to a very nuanced topic that I want to touch on. So what is the semantics of cross-chain read and write? Currently, if we want to do a cross-chain read, what does that mean? Meaning that like if you're bridging from L1 to L2, that basically means that you want to prove to the L2 protocol that you had deposit some token in the L1 treasury, so that you can mint the exact same token with the exact same amount from L2. So this proof currently is being implemented as a Merkle proof. And this process is exactly cross-chain reading, because like you're reading back to the L1 in some provable way, right? So this is like a Merkle proof, like, and this is how like normal L2 do, or normal bridges do like a cross-chain transaction. However, in this case, in the future, we're gonna implement everything inside TAE or ZK. So after we're able to enumerate L1 transaction, or like we just like execute everything in a provable context, right? If Alice deposit $10 within L1, and this L1 is being built by a base block builder who is running software within TAE, that literally after Alice's transaction, if the Alice deposit transaction is being executed on L1, the TAE proof will form, right? So like after the entire execution, we will get like a TAE or ZK proof as it is. So we can assume that like Alice's execution of the deposit has cross-chain integrity, right? So like in L2, we know that, okay, like Alice did deposit some transaction on L1 because this L1 block is literally being executed within TAE, and the L2 verifier, whatever light client that is, can verify the TAE or ZK proof. So she can mint the token from L2, right? So cross-chain reading is literally verifying a big proof that encodes the execution integrity of everything, instead of just a single-handed Merkle proof of a temporal state, right? And cross-chain write, on the other hand, is similar, right? If now I want to write to L1, meaning like I implicitly update the Uniswap state in L2, and now I wrote up the Uniswap state on L1. Like, so like the Uniswap state is actually encoded within the wrote up contract in L1. So let's say this Uniswap is deployed on Arbitrum, and Arbitrum has a wrote up contract on L1. And now that the Uniswap state is being updated on Arbitrum, because like, people execute certain transaction, and now Arbitrum does like proceed to some other state, right? So the Uniswap state update is implicit along with the Arbitrum rolled up status. However, currently, if we want to do in the future, if we want to do L1 call without breaking the fragmented liquidity, we do want to keep the Uniswap states on L1 without Uniswap being redeployed on Taiko or Gwyneth, right? So in this case, we directly modify Uniswap state on L1 from L2, from the rolled up transaction that we initiated from L2, as long as the Uniswap smart contract allow us to do so, meaning like it inherits the booster rolled up interface, right? So like we can directly modify Uniswap state from the booster rolled up, as long as the execution integrity is being proven with certain TAE or ZK proof. Yeah. So because of this, the proofs and execution comes together. So you can imagine like this big cylinder who's a representation of a node does the proof and execution. So it execute cross-chain transaction, and as it execute everything cross-chain, it also generates proof that everything that's being executed across different chain are honest. So we don't need Merkle proofs anymore. This is everything about like cross-chain synchronous composability. We're building different chain in the same context, and we're also proving different chains execution in the same context. Yeah. So specifically how we're going to implement cross-chain transaction is like context switching between recursive transaction. So let's say like the transaction 1 is a user bridging from L1 to L2. Transaction 2 is certain this user swapping on L2, and transaction 3 is this user bridging the swaps token back to L1. So we're going to encode everything as an onion, so that when things are being executed in this node, we can emulate the outer layer and eventually goes back to the inner layer. And across different layers of transaction, across the context switch, we're going to collect the state changes. So we're going to collect the state access that we made across different smart contracts. We're going to record the input and output, so that our proofs can prove the state transition. And afterwards, after the states are being collected, we're going to encode all of the accessed state within the call data of a foreign chain. So when the transaction is being rolled up on L1, and if there's any state update coming from the other chain that is trying to update certain L1 state, right? We directly picked it up from the call data, and as long as the state transition is being verified from the TE or ZK proof that we executed, then the smart contract, the targeting smart contract, can seamlessly just trust the state update and just go ahead and update its state, right? So this is how we solve fragmented state. So one example that I can think of for like to solve cross-chain fragmentation is people can literally only deploy one instance of Uniswap on L1 while using Uniswap code on L2 to update the L1 state, meaning that you don't need to redeploy Uniswap anymore on L1. All of your money on L2, all of your money is on L1, and you're also using L1 code to transact with L2's block space. So like you are using L2 execution power to emulate the L1 transaction so that you're not actually sending transaction to L1, you're not paying L1 gas fee, but you actually execute this stuff on L2. And then when the L2 rolled up, when the L2 rolled up operation is being included back to L1, your execution result is being automatically picked up. So that's what we call by like solving state fragmentation. Yeah. I guess like this is everything that I want to talk about. If anyone has any questions, I think we can directly enter the Q&A session, because I do have more example in my mind, but let's see what people come up with. Yeah. Hello?
Yeah. I was sorry. I'm back on now. Amazing presentation. Pardon me, presentation, Cecilia. Super deep. I feel like my brain got a couple more wrinkles on it. And there's so much more to kind of dig into. And that is actually one of the questions that we have here from the audience is there any public documentation? Like where can people go to really take a deep dive and learn more about this?
So we're still under active development. I guess like the easiest place where people can go to is our GitHub, right? Because like nothing is being settled, nothing is actually solid. Everything that I said.
Sorry, we're losing your audio. It's
So yeah, like just like if you're a developer, you're like more than welcome to just pick our brains on this and just check out what we're doing and leave a few critics, right? Yeah, if you're not a developer, just listen to what I say. Try your best to understand. There's nothing. Oh yeah, there is some certain thing that we wrote down, like just follow us on Twitter. Yeah.
Sorry, Cecilia, your audio is a little bit distorted. I think I caught parts of that. You were saying to go to the GitHub, open issues, and you can discuss there. Also on Twitter. But yeah, I'm just not sure about your audio right now. Can you try to speak again?
Oh yeah, sorry.
Okay. Yeah.
Like my AirPods just automatically connects and stuff, so like that's why. So I was saying that everything that I said are still under active development, and everything that I said can get overwritten by like another GitHub commits depending on how Bract and I decide to implement the shit. So yeah, so the most accurate track record that you can see is on our commitment history on GitHub. And you're more than welcome to like pick our brains if you're a developer. If you just want to read about us, like definitely like watch the podcast that we did, or like the follow us on Twitter. We do have like a lot of writings. I will probably post some links in the comments as well, so that you guys can follow up on that. Yeah. So Brax does have like very verbal tax specification about like these implementation details, but I wouldn't say there's anything that is like set in stone.
Gotcha. Okay, so yeah, for those that are interested, you can dig into the GitHub and follow along, because things are still changing, still in flux. Another question here from the audience is, how does this paradigm, the plan that we have here for Taiko Gwyneth, how does it compare to the existing landscape out there? And this person here mentions specifically Aptos or Solana sequencers.
I don't know about Aptos. I don't know about like the specific like details of Aptos implementation of their sequencer, but I do know that Solana practice a continuous block building where all of a transaction is being forwarded to the current leader of the POS of their POS protocol, which is also like extremely tend to be more centralized than Ethereum. But I would say like this. I think like the mental model is entirely different because the best way to think of how we work is to establish upon the PBS pipeline where L2 block building is like an extension of PBS of like block builder separation, right? Before we were separating L1 block building from L1 validator to L1 builder. Now that we integrate the role of L2 proposal with like L1 validator, and now we're also separating L1 builder to like, like we're also delegating L2 builders, L2 block building task to like builder that has capacity of building L1 blocks as well. So like currently the code is literally being implemented as it is, right? Like we like literally modified the MEV like builder code to build L2 block. Yeah, and then we propose block instead of using the PBS pipeline, we directly propose the block to the Taiko smart contract. Yeah, so that's it. I don't see any connection to like how Solana works. Because Solana is apparently a lot more faster. It's streaming literally.
Cool. Yeah. No, I think every kind of case by case comparison is going to have its own different nuances, and obviously we're biased in that Taiko Gwyneth is going to be the best, quote unquote. But I think we're still in a very nascent space, and we're yet to see which solution is going to be the dominant solution or the best solution into the future. Okay, some more questions from the audience. Is this guy's direction? Yeah, so the question is more about like what is, I guess, the end game here. Asking about is this design meant to bring L1 and L2s closer together, or is it more designed to bring L2s to L2 connections better? And I think the answer is both, but maybe you can expand on that a little bit.
Right. The answer is certainly both. But it also depends on how pre-confirmation is implemented on L1. If we want to have the same level of synchronicity from L1 to L2, then L1 will have to have execution pre-confirmation, right? Because like I said, like if you want to like synchronously compose L1 and L2 transaction within a certain order that you desire, then that means certain L1 validator has to like give you that guarantee, that pre-confirmation of like he or she is certainly going to propose the block as it is, right? So that's what we meant by execution pre-confirmation. However, if you're staying in the L2 ecosystem where you only want to synchronously compose within L2, then it's none of L1's business, right? Like as long as like all of the L2 are like running our client, and the L2 builder has like the right RPC of like certain like L2 chain ID, right? Then it can like synchronously compose like two different L2's transaction as a same batch and propose it to L1. Like it's up to the L1 when to include the transaction, but it doesn't affect L2's synchronous composability within themselves, right? One thing that I didn't mention is like with even without synchronous composer, even without pre-confirmation, we can still synchronously read L1. So from any running instance of L2, we can access the latest state of L1 as long as you are still running the L1 DB, like you're still syncing the L1 DB under the hood on your machine, right? You can say like, oh, if the price of this like L1 Uniswap pool goes to certain goes up to like or goes down to certain value, then I'm gonna liquidate some other assets on your L2. You can certainly do this type of things, right? Because like you like the L1 DB is on your machine. You can like like access that for free. And also the fact that you accessed this piece of data is being proven from your local machine's TE or ZK context. So yeah, so that your executional result is being trusted while you're liquidating some other people's assets, right? Yeah. So I would say it depends on like the status of pre-confirmation.
Always depends, but I love that that quote. I made sure to make a note. It's none of L1's business.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's another question here, and then I have a couple questions too. I don't know if we'll try and get it all in here. From the perspective of someone building on Taiko, what does this actually like enable for a project, and how do they incorporate this into their project's direction, like their roadmap moving forward?
Oh, I think this has like tremendous implications on how dApps will be built in the future. For example, like I said, you can literally have certain code deploy on a instant of one chain while you have other chain accessing the state of that piece of code or that contract. Well, not deploying the actual code in on like the other chain. You know what I mean? Like it's like you're saving space. Or like you can also have like code deploying on chain A and keep the states on chain B. Right? It's up to your imagination how you're gonna implement your dApp. But in general, I think this like as long as you're like you're being creative, you can literally have like different pool state on different chain while keeping the Uniswap main code on L1 as the only like rule of thumb, like as only like source of trust, while you have like states on like different L2. Like anything that you can do, like you're able to do it like within this paradigm.
Very interesting. Yeah, I think we're heading into like a blue ocean, as they call it, where the implications and the full understanding of this technology is still yet to be realized. And of course, it would be because it hasn't even been built yet. But I think it's a great opportunity for folks here in this call and in this community to already be thinking about the new things that can be built to kind of front run this technology and build apps with this direction in mind. I think that makes a lot of sense. Okay, I asked this question to Yunga. I'm curious to know what your answer is, and then I might have a follow up depending. But MEV, is it a bug or is it a feature?
I think it's a bug that is a feature. Okay, I would say okay to user is definitely a bug, right? Like because like any type of front running is bad for a user, right? Like although you can have like arbitraging, right? Like you can have like DEX arbitrage where that initiate better, faster price discovery. However, like it does still like take a lot of money from the user. However, I do think that like the huge revenue that it brings to the builder is a big incentivization for people to join Ethereum and build for Ethereum. So especially in this base paradigm that I talked about, like we need builder that has like L1 block building capacity to join the L2 ecosystem to build for L2. And who's gonna join us? It's like definitely people that has, you know, MEV capacity. And how are we gonna even attract the builder? It's like the L2 MEV. We're gonna use the L2 MEV as an incentive to like attract the user, attract the builder to build for L2. So I do think that, like, you know, it's like how we're talking about money itself. It's like money is like very sinful. Like money's dirty, right? Like it's like it makes everyone very greedy. But that's like the only source of truth. Like people are gonna build for your chain as long as it's profitable. And we're trying to make this piece of technology as accessible as possible so that people can leverage their existing infrastructure to make themselves money. So I do think that like MEV is, you know, bug and a feature at the same time.
Yeah, that's a fair answer. I think that makes sense. The kind of follow up, maybe more of a comment or an observation, is that I think with this new paradigm where we can synchronously compose transactions across L1, L2, and L2, L2, the MEV landscape grows, right? You can a builder that has access to multiple L2s, including the L1, can do a lot more arbitrage across all of these different networks. Yeah, do you have any kind of perspective or anything to add to that thought? It's just kind of like a little thing bouncing around in my brain.
Yeah, for sure. Your intuition is absolutely right. Like so currently currently L2 MEV is being extracted with span, like span transaction. So if someone wants to practice a DAX arbitrage from Taiko to Optimism, he will have to like span Taiko network and span Optimism network at the same time to make sure these like to make sure like you know, like you buy on Taiko and then sell on Optimism almost at the same time to like ensure the revenue, right? And in this case, then if you're literally sequencing for the Taiko and Optimism chain on the same machine, then you can literally insert those transactions back to back, right? And it's also up to the protocol design, how you're gonna bribe the builder to do it. Like basically, all these like pre-confirmation comes with a pre-confirmation tip, with like cross-chain building and cross-chain bundles, within the pre-confirmation context, you're potentially tipping builder to place your transactions together. So yeah, you are going to pay your price, but it's definitely a much more you know, economically efficient way to do it. And like prior to that, it's literally not possible because we literally have to span everything. And like it make much more sense if we do it in a base cross-chain building context.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
it also gives the builder the opportunity to front run the person that's trying to do the arbitrage, right? If the tip isn't high enough, then they'll
Right.
just do the arbitrage themselves, right?
Yeah. For sure.
Okay, last question is probably I don't know if this makes any sense, but like the size, is there any instance where the size of the transactions that we're trying to secure into an L1 block is too big that it wouldn't actually fit into an L1 block? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. I think that's up to the 4844 blob, right? Like you know how like in EIP 4844, like this is like literally how all rolled up your blocks now today, where you know the data availabilities are in the blob, but the final state are being updated on the like the L1 smart contract. I think there's always space to like compress the transaction list. Um, in a much more efficient way such that you can fit more transaction into the blob. And also another solution is also an alternative DA where for example you post your transaction list onto Celestia. But that's it, but however in that case you also have to prove the integrity of Celestia basically. If use alt DA. Otherwise, you're bearing extra security cost. Yeah, so like there is a potentiality. So like people are also arguing if L1 is underpricing the blob use. So like uh, the blob use is a big burden on Ethereum, the network as a whole, right? So like I think like this concern is legit in general. But I do feel like yeah, we should do better to like to like that to make a better use of the existing Ethereum DA without sacrificing the security. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think, yeah, I agree with that. We should always do better. And I think that is a large guiding light for at least what it seems like you guys are working on with Taiko Gwyneth is being better, making synchronous composability a thing so that Ethereum can scale in ways that it has yet to been able to scale thus far. And so, yeah, I want to thank you for being here and giving us your just a piece of your brain and the great presentation that you had. Yeah, is there any final thoughts that you want to leave with the audience?
Not really. Well, but thank you very much, Jordan, for like coming up with this initiative. I do think that this is a huge help to our community, like for people to understand our tech better and our, you know, financial strategy or whatever that is, like better in general, so that people understand us better as a team. So yeah, thank you very much, and thanks for the audience for tuning in.
Absolutely. Yeah, and with that, I think we're going to wrap things up. I do want to remind everybody to join the Discord channel, to make sure that you're plugging into the DoraHacks platform as well and submitting your projects. And if you're still looking for some support or anything, you can find us over on the Discord channel. You'll need to self-select in the roles category. You'll self-select the developer role that will unlock the category for your for the Grant Factory specific channel, and you can come chat there. I'll be there to help you. All of our sponsors and team are there to help support you, from technical support all the way up to grant writing support to entrepreneurial support and advice on what to build and how to build it. All of that is covered. Yeah, we're getting down to the final days, but we still have a lot of time compared to most hackathons, which are like just a weekend or a week long. We still have a couple weeks. So there's still lots of time to get in and get a project up and to really solidify your piece of the pie on this very new blockchain that has lots of open space to grow. As Cecilia kind of just demonstrated to us, there's a lot of new capabilities that haven't even been fully understood that are becoming possible today. And now is a great time to capture and get your spot on the rocket ship, as we say in this space. Is Mashika still here? Does she want to come on and give us a last farewell? If not, yeah, there we go.
Yeah, I think not a lot from my end. Just I would like to wish everyone good luck who's building in this hackathon. And if you're facing any kind of issue submitting your project, feel free to reach out to us. You can personally reach out to me at Mishika MISHIKA 251 on either Twitter or Telegram. Both work for me, but I will be happy to navigate things for you. Also, if you want to connect with any of the Taiko team folks, feel free to hop onto the Discord. And yeah, I think that's all from me, Jordan. But thank you everyone for tuning in. Thank you, Cecilia, for the time. And yeah, thanks to the entire Taiko team for making it so interactive and making it so interesting.
Awesome. Likewise. And yeah, thanks everybody. We'll see you in the next session on Friday.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.